Okay, so we're on problem number 12, and this is still in exercise 69. And so what I want to do is I want to go to the whiteboard. And as I go to the whiteboard, certainly I want to keep the reading in mind, but I want to go to the whiteboard. And let's take a look at that. So I'm going to say I'm done with this. Get my handwritten notes. And what problem am I doing? I can't remember. It's 12. Put this down. I'll kind of read it. Distance, rate, times problem can be very difficult. But it says A and B travel from P to Q. That's 14 miles at a uniform rate. B taking 20 minutes longer than A. There's no question. There's a lot of statements at this point. On the return, each travels 1 mile an hour faster. 1 mile per hour faster. B takes 15 minutes longer than A. Oh, find the rates of traveling. So I know there's A and B, right? So I'll put this over here. A's rate, it's a uniform motion problem, by the way. I'm going to say A's rate is, I don't know, I'm going to say it's X, and that's X miles per hour, by the way. I just don't know what it is. And B's rate is going to be Y miles per hour. And this is so typical. We write down, two unknowns, and we try to come up with a system of equations that does this, all right? So what I want to do is, A and B travel from P to Q, and I'm going to point out that this is a distance, uniform motion problem, rate times time, all right? Now, certainly I know the distance is 14. So 14 divided by X would be equal to A's time. This is going to be A's time. By the way, in hours. And 14 divided by Y would be B's time. Again, in hours. All right? Now, what do we know? We know that B takes longer. All right, B taking 20 minutes longer. All right? B takes 20 minutes longer. Right, now 20 minutes longer, I got to get an equation over here, times. And I know there's a relationship of time now. So 14 over X is somehow related to 14 over Y. Now, I want to point out 20 minutes, and we have to understand that I got hours over here. So I hope you realize this is 1/3 of an hour. All right? Now, I know this is difficult, and I always find it difficult myself by the way I'm thinking, but to make them equal, I either have to give somebody 1/3 of an hour or take 1/3 hour. But, who took longer? Right? And again, you may have to read it a couple times. B took longer. B taking 20 minutes longer. So to make them equal, I could either add 1/3 to this side or subtract 1/3 from this side. It doesn't matter. All right, so what I want to write down, I'll write down what I'm going to put 14 over X equals 14 over Y minus 1/3. So I'm going to say this is an equation, and it's a good equation. It's something I've read. It's like the journey there, but now I got to take the journey backwards. And the journey backwards, to come back and I have to read it again. I'm not trying to memorize it, I'm trying to read it. It says on the return trip, each travels 1 mile per hour faster. So now it's going to be 14. We're talking about A again. His rate now is going to be X plus 1. And this is going to be the time on the return trip for A. So this is the return trip over here, return. All right, this is A's time. But again, still in hours. And what's B's time going to be? 14 over Y plus 1. And this is going to be B's time in hours. And yep, it's not easy. Right, now what do they say? On the return trip, each travels 1 mile per hour faster. And B now takes 15 minutes longer. All right, so I hope you understand that 15 minutes now, all right, this over here, is 1/4 of an hour. Whoops, that's not right. Let me just blow this up a little bit. Sorry about that. Let me get my eraser out. No, it's over here. 15 minutes is 1/4 of an hour. So again, someone says, what do you want to do? I want to write an equation down of equality. So A's time is 14. I'm equating times, by the way. X plus 1. And I'll put this over here. And B's time is 14 over Y plus 1. All right, now, again, what does it say? It says, this on the return trip, it took B 15 minutes more. So you could either add a quarter here, you could add it there, or subtract it here. What I'm going to do is subtract it, minus 1/4. All right, so someone says, what do you have now? Well, I have 2 equations and 2 unknowns. All right, let me push this up, and I'm going to write it over here. So 14 over x equals 14 over y minus 1/3. And I'm going to write 14 over x plus 1 is equal to 14 over y plus 1 minus 1/4. Now, I got to repeat this over and over again to you. I'm not saying the way I am doing the problem is any better than any other way to do the problem. But at the end of this, when all the dust settles, we have to have the same answers. So what I like to do, which you may not like to do, but I like to clear the fraction. So I'm going to look at the first equation, and I'm going to multiply by xy and a 3. So I'm going to multiply the first equation by 3xy. And I'm going to multiply the second equation, it's going to be much more difficult, by 4x plus 1, y plus 1. Well, let me see if I can do that. What are you going to get? Well, 14 times 3 is 30 and 12, 42. The x cancels off, I get a y. Now what do you get? Well, it's still the same thing, 42, right? But now it's going to be 42x minus xy. Right, that's not so bad. Let me put the next one down. And I'm looking at it. And I know it's tough, but I got to go through it. And I'm going to get 4 times 14 now. That's 40 and 16, 56. And then the x plus 1 cancels off. I get y plus 1. Well, it's really the same thing. It's going to be 56. And then it's going to be x plus 1 minus, it's going to be more difficult, isn't it? It's going to be x plus 1, y plus 1. I'm not done yet. I got to keep moving. And I'll write this over here as 42y equals 42x minus xy. And on bottom, maybe I'll do a little side work over here. 56y plus 56, 56x plus 56. Well, you know what? That turns out to be pretty nice. I'm going to write this down, and maybe I'll do this now. Maybe I'll do it now. So this would be xy, let's see, plus x plus y plus 1. That's a lot of work, isn't it? So let's write this down. 56y equals 56x. By the way, these cancel off. That's why I did that. Then you get minus xy, minus x, minus y, minus 1. Right? I think I did okay. Let's keep going. I still have to, it just doesn't seem to stop, right? All this work about simplification. And then what do you get? Well, let's take a look at this. I'm going to add y to both sides, 57y. I just take care of these two things over here. And this would be equal to 55x minus xy. Got that over there, minus 1. All right? So I'm kind of looking at it, and I'm wondering what to do now. But I think I could do something. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a subtraction. So I'm going to take this equation and I'm going to subtract this one away and see what I come up with. And I'm hoping to get something pretty nice. So 57 minus 42, that's 15y. And 52 minus 42 is going to be, let's see, 8 and 5, 13x. Well, the xy's disappear, and then I get minus 1. All right? So, I realized for a lot of students, they look at it and say, I don't even know where to go with this guy here. It just doesn't seem to stop. I still don't know what x and y, nor do I. All right? So what I want to do is I guess I could solve for y, right? So what's y going to be? 13x minus 1 over 15. Well, let's go back. And I guess I could plug it in somewhere. I'm kind of looking around where to plug it in to make my life easy. And I'm going to say maybe this one. Let me write this down. 42 times y, 13x minus 1 over 15 equals 42 times x, well, that's not so bad, minus x times y. Well, that's going to be x, and what's y going to be? Well, let's write this down. 13x minus 1 over 15. I got to keep moving, and moving means getting rid of the fraction for me. I'm going to multiply both sides by 15. Get 42, 13x minus 1 equals 15 times 42x. Again, I'm multiplying both sides by 15 minus x times 13x minus 1. Now I got some work to do. I'll write it down for you. So it's 42 times 13x minus 42 equals 15 times 42. You notice I'm not doing any arithmetic up, by the way. Minus 13x squared plus x. All right, I'm going to keep going. It looks quadratic in form, doesn't it? 13x squared. That's that guy right over there. I'll write this down very carefully. 42 times 13x, that's that guy, minus 42 times 15x, that's that guy, minus x, minus 42 equals 0. 13x squared. Now, I'm going to look at these two over here, and they look pretty easy to me. All right, so what is it going to be? You know, basically 13 minus 15 of those things. And that would be minus 2. And minus 2 times 42 is minus 84. All right, you may take a moment to think about that. You know, minus 2, and we result of that times 42, minus 84. So it'll be minus 85x. All right, I'm combining with that guy over there. Minus 42 is equal to 0. All right, quadratic in form. And again, I'm not even thinking about the problem anymore. I'm thinking about how to do it, how to factor this. That's all I'm thinking about. But if you're going to work with my fingers, 13 and 1 is about the only way I could do that. And now I got to worry about the 42. And I want to write down the 42 as a variety of ways. And you could write it as 1 times 42. You could write down 2 times 21. You get the idea. I could write 6 times 7. I think you get the idea. All right? I'm kind of looking around for something, and let's take a look. I want to get a 42 minus, but I want that internal sum to be minus 85. Let's take a look at that. Now, 13 times 7 would be 70 and 21. Yeah, let's try it. 7 here and a 6 here. All right, so 13x times x, 13x squared. Let's see, then you can get 6 times 7 in the end would be, 42. I'll get the signs later. I'm going to put a minus here and a plus there. And let's see if this works out. So I definitely get 13x squared. And I'm going to get my eraser out, and I'm going to see if it works. Right? It can't hurt to try. So 13 times 7, as I said, 70 and 21, 91. Whoops, 91. That'd be minus, and then plus 6. And what would that give you? It gives you minus 85. Works out beautifully. All right, so what are the answers over here? I'll write this down for you. And the answers are going to be as follows. X equals 7. Now, I realize someone said, I don't even know what these things mean. And that's fine. We'll go back and read it again. And x over here is going to be minus 6/13. But you know what? I want to remind you that we kind of read through the problem, and I hope you realize we talked about things. I know it's tough. I'm not saying it's easy. But what was x? X was the rate in miles per hour. It's got to be a positive number. So this one doesn't make any sense. My question over here, what does this mean? It means 7 miles per hour for A. That's A's rate. But I don't know B's rate. How would I do that? I would look at it right over here. And let's go through that. So it's going to be 13 times 7. That's 70 and 21, 91, minus 1. We're trying to get the y, by the way. Over 15. This is 90 over 15. And let's see, that would give you 6, right? Yeah, 6 miles per hour for B. And that's it. So again, what I recommend you do is please look at the story. And if the story is not giving those answers and you're getting something a little bit creepier than that, try to rectify it. Now, certainly someone says, this is a really easy answer. I probably could have guessed that. We're not saying you couldn't have guessed it. What we're trying to do is we're trying to get you to do the algebra, all right? Now, I know some people write competitive exams. Their competitive exams are not so kind. They don't give you numbers. They give you parameters. Like they might say, instead of 20 minutes, they might say A minutes. And instead of saying, 15 minutes, they might say B minutes. Makes it a more difficult problem, but it still can be done if you've got the algebra skills. You couldn't guess at it, though. All right, thank you so much for paying attention. I do appreciate it.